Hey y'all, it's Michael from Terror and Taco. Sorry, it's been a while. Christy and I have been really busy. Honestly, Christy's been way busier than I have. But I want to say Happy New Year. Jump back on because it got cold for like one day down here in Dallas. And I figured, oh, this will be a good time to highlight two winter horror movies that I really like. And I think you'll see at the end of this, there's a pretty clear theme that links the two, even though they're very different stylistically. So let's jump in. First, winter horror movie, The Dead Zone from 1983, directed by David Cronenberg and based on a Stephen King story. We've done a whole thing on the Dead Zone before. You should check it out. But I wanted to highlight a couple things that really tie into some of the, wintry stuff that's going on right now. So the Dead Zone starts with a young man named Johnny Smith, played by Christopher Walken, who gets in a horrific car accident and goes into a coma for like 5 years. And when Johnny wakes up, his whole life is ruined. Like the lady he was going to marry has moved on because, he was in a coma and he can't really get work anymore. He was a teacher and it's just all a mess. But the one big thing that happened to Johnny while he was in the coma is he became psychic. And so as Johnny tries to adjust to the world, he starts having these psychic visions. And one of the first visions he has, he's like tutoring this kid, or he's going to tutor this kid, and he sees a vision of this kid skating on ice. And then the ice breaks, and Johnny starts to freak out because, like, he realizes how bad this ice fucking sucks. And he's like, man, the ice is going to break because this ice fucking sucks. And I have to protect this kid from the ice because Johnny is a good person. And he realizes that the one thing he can do as a decent human being is protect kids, or really any other human, from this ice, because he's like, oh my God, this ice is deadly and this ice has no fucking place being there, but it is there. So as a good human being, I need to do what I can do to protect this kid and other people from the ice. And so eventually they listen to Johnny, and then the kid lives because, Johnny's a decent human being who realizes again how bad ice fucking sucks. Then, once Johnny saved the kid, he keeps having these psychic visions. And he meets a dude named Greg Stilson, played by the great Martin Sheen, who has ambitions for becoming president. He's a politician who wants to be president. But when Johnny shakes his hand at this rally, he has this vision of what Stilson will become when he's president. And he realizes pretty quickly that Stilson is an insane megalomaniac and a narcissist who wants to start World War III because he has a dark fucking pit in his soul and the mentality of an angry fucking toddler. And so he's willing to like destroy all of the world because of his ego. I don't know. We don't really get a lot in the movie about Stilson's background. I assume his daddy never loved him or some stupid shit like that. And so Johnny is like, oh man, I got to stop Stilson. And he comes up with this huge plan, and it's crazy and violent and all of these things. But it turns out, spoilers, in the end, the thing that ruins Stilson is that Johnny is able to reveal that he's an absolute fucking coward who would use a literal baby as a shield to protect himself. Now, this was made in the 80s, back when using a baby as a literal shield would end a political career. And so Johnny basically sacrifices himself, but reveals what a coward, child, petulant, narcissistic, evil, stupid human being Stilson is. And America's like, we can't have that kind of asshole as president. Not a guy who would, use a literal baby as a shield. That would be insane. We would never vote a man who is that fucking weak and petulant and egotistical into the highest office in the country. And so while a pretty dark film, it ends kind of on a positive note, a dark positive note, because it is Cronenberg and King. So anyway, that's 1983's The Dead Zone. Check it out. All right, one other winter horror I wanted to hit is a Norwegian film from 2023 called There's Something in the Barn. There's Something in the Barn is really a horror comedy. It's done great. It's got some camp, some great creature feature stuff, super fun. Basically, it's about an American family who inherits uh, a farm in Norway. And they're like, I mean, let's go to Norway. It sounds pretty awesome. I'm sure they have like, good health care and normal people. But when they get to Norway, something crazy happens. There is what we discover there's an entity, and because it's Norway, they refer to it as a barn elf. And there are these rules about this barn elf, kind of like with the gremlins, but being, kind of dumb Americans, they basically break all three rules and they unleash this barn elf, the terror of this barn elf. Now, when you see the barn elf, at least as an American viewer, you're going to be like, oh, that's a fucking gnome. And this gnome is horrible. And so the movie, There's Something in the Barn, essentially becomes a battle between this, group of Americans, this American family battling this evil, sadistic gnome. And it gets to the point where it is kind of comical because you're like, how the fuck is this gnome terrorizing us? Why does this gnome have so much power? This gnome has no place being any part of society in Norway, dealing with Americans. Why do Americans on a daily basis have to wake up and deal with this psychotic, evil gnome? And anyway, that's kind of the plot of There's Something in the Barn. And it's really funny. It's got some great comedic actors. It's shot brilliantly. And the cinematography is amazing, as all Scandinavian and Nordic horror movies usually are, because Norway looks beautiful and, I don't know, has healthcare and stuff. I don't know. Sounds like a magical wonderland. So anyway, There's Something in the Barn from 2023. And these are two winter movies you can check out. They're both great horror films, very different stylistically, but I think they teach us a couple of things that are important. And one is ice is dangerous and evil, and like honestly, just like fuck ice. And then the other is, why do we have to deal with this fucking gnome? This fucking gnome has no place in our lives. So yeah, check out those movies. Come back next week. Christy will return and we'll do a review of something. All right. Bye.